Welcome back, my dear student. In this lecture here, we are going to be learning how to create properties for the class. Some people call it attributes, some people call it class variables. All right. So let's go ahead and do a save as on this document on instance, on the class underscore instance, and let's call this class properties. I hope you are really following this and doing everything like I am, because watching it is not going to make you better. You need to write it down. And I tell you that from experience. All right. So now I'm going to change a couple things here, but first let me show you how to define a property or a variable inside a class. The way that we do this is by using a keyword var. That means, of course, variable, and then we just write the variable like we regularly do, right? Regularly in PHP, will count. So I created a variable here called will count. This is a property now. It's no difference. It's still a variable. It contains information if we assign it to, right? If we assign information, we'll have it in here. The only difference is this keyword here. Because when you are outside the class, you're not required to let PHP know that it's a variable, because PHP already knows. It assumes that you are creating a variable as long as you put a dollar sign. But when you are inside the class, you need to define it. You need to let PHP know that, listen, I'm creating a variable. This is a variable of the class, a property. So that's the only difference here. So I created this variable with nothing here. All right, so I'm going to show you in a minute how to call it. But first, let's change this here to card detail. All right. All right. And let me just take that off from here. So I'm going to use this instance here to show you a couple of examples. I'm going to actually create another property. This property is going to be called door count. And we can also assign it a value right away. We don't have to leave it empty like here, but let's go ahead and assign it a value right away. I'm going to assign it a value of 4, and this one I'm going to assign it a value of 4. Right? So the way that we can actually access this property, super simple. We use the name of the instance right here. Remember, now that we want to access anything inside the class, we got to use the name of the instance for that specific object, right? So BMW, all right, and the hyphen and the arrow key. And now you just use the name of that property. You don't need to use a dollar sign anymore, all right? Because you're already defining this here. But you don't need that dollar sign anymore there. All right. So now let's say we want to echo it. So what we do is we type in the word echo and save. We go back outside and see how this looks. Back, refresh here, and class properties. And now we can see the 4 right here. Okay. Perfect. So that's how we access that information. Now you can also change that information right here. So we can also go and do something like this. Assign it number 10. We come back here and refresh, and now that changes. See that? So this is how you can make a difference. So you can have many different instances, and you can change their values of any specific one by just assigning the value right there, right? So you can use the name. You can use the same blueprint, but then you can change the value on any specific instance that you have. So in BMW here, I assigned it a different will count. Now let me give you an example. Another example here. Let's say Mercedes, right? And I'm not going to assign Mercedes anything. I'm just gonna echo this value out, and I'm just gonna concatenate a space there, a break actually, refresh, and now you can see. Actually, I should have concatenated the break right here. Sorry about that. All right. We can use this if you wanted to, right here. Sometimes I like to use an echo to do that. All right, so refresh. All right there. So we'll count. There we go, missing this one here. There we go. All right. So you can see that now Mercedes has the original count right here of 4. All right. And if I didn't assign anything to the BMW instance, they will have both the same. All right. So you can change them like that. Okay. Now, there's another thing also that you can do. All right. So now let's go ahead and do this a little more creatively, right? Let's go ahead and use the keyword return, because I want to show you something. And let's return something out of it. Let's actually call this method out from the instance and return some type of value. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to write some text. I'm going to say this car has, right? And I'm going to use this property inside this method right here. And the way we do that, the way we reference this instance, this class inside a method, is with a keyword called this. All right, like this, and with a $sign. This is pseudo variable. It's called pseudo variable this. This refers to that specific class. All right. So what I'm saying is the car's class property, like this, called will actually I don't have to will count like this. I don't have to write the $sign anymore. Will count like this. All right. So outside we need to use the name of the instance, of course, but because we are inside the class, we just use the pseudo variable this, and this refers to that specific class. So I'm using this property here from this class. This will count. So I'm returning this now. Now what I can do is I can call this down here, and I can say echo, and let me just use that Mercedes is fine. Let's use Mercedes. So echo Mercedes, and then the name of that method right here, and refresh. This car has 4 what? Well, we forgot to put the text in here. 4 what? Wheels, right? Wheels. Refresh. There we go. Look at that. All right. So that's the way you can play around with that. All right. So very simple to do. So I think you should have it. You should understand it by now. So again, remember that this is the way we call this inside the function. And of course, you can use this and call the BMW the same way. All right. And you can also change the values of any type of instance here. All right, so keep that in mind. So it's super easy, but it could confuse some people if you're coming from procedural PHP, if you don't know anything about programming, object-oriented programming. So make sure that you rewind this video and replay it if you don't understand it. All right, so thank you so much for watching this lecture here, and keep on practicing and writing this down. Don't just watch me, do it. It's gonna help you. Thank you.